always been a place of secrets. Its walls hold centuries of untold stories, unspoken truths, and unanswered questions. But every once in a while, something so unexpected happens that it threatens to crack through that silence. This time, Pope Francis has done just that. In a move that has left both the public and religious leaders stunned, he's decided to reveal the truth about Camila, something that's been buried for far too long. For years, this truth was shielded, locked away in the shadows. Why now? Why would Pope Francis choose to uncover something so disturbing, so shocking at this moment? What does it mean for those involved, and for the rest of us watching as the story unfolds? Pope Francis, a leader of transparency. What happens when a humble man from Buenos Aires is chosen to lead one of the most powerful religious institutions in the world? Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on December 17, 1936, Pope Francis grew up in a modest family. His father was a railway worker and his mother a homemaker, instilling in him a strong sense of humility and a commitment to service. Young Jorge's life changed forever after a serious illness as a teenager, during which he had part of a lung removed. This near-death experience shaped his faith and set him on a path to become a priest. In 1958, Bergoglio joined the Jesuits, an order known for its intellectual rigor and social activism. His rise through the ranks of the Catholic Church was steady but quiet. He served as Archbishop of Buenos Aires, where he gained a reputation as a compassionate, hands-on leader who rode public transport and mingled with the poor. But in 2013, everything changed. Following the shocking resignation of Pope Benedict XVI, Jorge Mario Bergoglio was elected as the first pope from the Americas, the first Jesuit pope, and the first to take the name Francis, in honor of Saint Francis, Francis of Assisi. That choice alone was a statement. Saint Francis is known for his devotion to poverty and care for the marginalized, values that would define this new papacy. From a priest riding buses to the global leader of over 1 billion Catholics, how does Pope Francis stay true to his humble beginnings while addressing the enormous challenges of the modern church? From the moment Pope Francis stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica after his election, it was clear he was different. Instead of the traditional papal regalia, he appeared in a simple white cassock, a gesture of humility that set the tone for his papacy. He refused to live in the opulent apostolic palace, opting for a modest guest house instead. This simplicity wasn't just for show, it was a declaration of his commitment to transparency and reform. Pope Francis has often said, "The Church must be poor and for the poor." This philosophy has guided him as he tackled some of the most controversial and entrenched issues in the Catholic Church, from financial corruption to clerical abuse. When centuries-old secrets began to unravel, the world watched Pope Francis with bated breath. Would he follow through on his promise to reform the Church? Pope Francis inherited a church riddled with scandals and mistrust. For decades, the Catholic Church had faced mounting criticism over its handling of sexual abuse cases, financial opacity, and perceived disconnect from the modern world. Many saw his election as a chance for a fresh start, but the challenges were daunting. One of Pope Francis's most significant and public battles has been addressing the sexual abuse crisis that has rocked the Church worldwide. While his predecessors had taken steps to acknowledge the problem, Pope Francis went further, implementing measures to hold bishops accountable for covering up abuse. In 2019, he convened a historic summit in Vatican City with church leaders from around the world to tackle the issue head-on. The gathering was marked by survivors sharing their stories, bringing a raw and emotional depth to the discussions. Out of this summit came new policies, including mandatory reporting of abuse and the establishment of systems to protect minors and vulnerable adults. Still, critics have said these steps are not enough. While Pope Francis has apologized publicly and met with survivors, the road to full accountability remains long. Yet, his willingness to confront this issue openly is a marked shift from the Church's previous approach of silence and secrecy. But abuse wasn't the only shadow looming over the Vatican. What about the billions of dollars flowing through its opaque financial systems? For years, the Vatican's finances were shrouded in mystery, with rumors of corruption and mismanagement tarnishing its reputation. Pope Francis made it clear early on that this would not continue under his watch. He established a new secretariat for the economy, appointing Cardinal George Pell to oversee financial reforms. This department introduced modern accounting practices, audited accounts, and even closed hundreds of suspicious accounts within the Vatican Bank. One of the most dramatic moments in his fight for transparency came in 2020, when the Vatican charged Cardinal Angelo Becciu, a once powerful figure, with embezzlement. This unprecedented move sent a strong message. No one, not even high-ranking officials, was above scrutiny. Despite progress, financial reform has been slow and fraught with resistance. Yet, Pope Francis's determination has kept the spotlight on these issues, signaling that transparency is non-negotiable. What does it take for a single voice to cut through centuries of tradition and make the world stop and listen? Pope Francis's leadership has also been defined by his powerful words. His encyclicals, official letters to the Church, are deeply personal and tackle pressing global issues. In Laudato Si', 2015, Pope Francis addressed climate change, urging Catholics and the world to care for the earth as our common home. This groundbreaking document positioned the Catholic Church as a key player in the fight against environmental degradation, drawing praise from scientists and activists alike. Another landmark moment came with Fratelli Tutti, 2020, where he called for global solidarity and condemned divisive politics and social injustice. In this document, Pope Francis criticized a throwaway culture that discards the poor, the elderly, and the marginalized. Beyond his writings, his speeches often challenge the status quo. Who can forget his 2015 address to the U.S. Congress, where he implored lawmakers to remember the golden rule in their policies? Or his visit to Lesbos in 2016, where he met with refugees and brought several families back to the Vatican to offer them safety. But here's the real question: does his vision resonate beyond the walls of the Vatican? As Pope Francis approaches the later years of his papacy, his legacy as a leader of transparency is both celebrated and scrutinized. Critics argue that change has been too slow, while supporters admire his courage in tackling centuries of entrenched problems. One thing is clear: Pope Francis's commitment to openness has redefined what it means to lead the Catholic Church in the 21st century. From his humble beginnings in Argentina to his unprecedented reforms in the Vatican, he remains a figure who inspires hope and controversy in equal measure. Queen Camilla. How did a woman once labeled as the most hated woman in Britain rise to become Queen Consort? The transformation of Queen Camilla is a story you won't want to miss. Queen Camilla's journey from her early years to becoming a respected figure in the British monarchy is nothing short of extraordinary. Her life story has been a roller coaster of love, loss, scandal, and redemption, a tale of resilience that has captured the public's imagination. Today, she stands alongside King Charles III, commanding a respect that seemed impossible decades ago. But how did this transformation happen? Camilla Rosemary Shand was born on July 17, 1947, into an upper-class British family. Raised in the countryside, she grew up with a love for horses and a penchant for country life, which would later prove to be a bond between her and Charles. Her early life was one of privilege, but it wasn't marked by the intense public scrutiny that would define her later years. Camilla met Charles in the early 1970s, and their connection was instant. They shared a love of the outdoors, books, and a similar sense of humor. However, their romance was not destined to flourish at the time. Charles was called away for naval duties, and Camilla eventually married Andrew Parker Bowles, a dashing military officer, in 1973. Their love story might have ended there, but fate had other plans. Over the years, Camilla and Charles remained close friends, a friendship that eventually reignited into romance. By the 1980s, their relationship became an open secret among aristocratic circles. However, Charles was married to Princess Diana, a global icon adored by millions, and Camilla's presence in his life soon became a source of scandal. From whispers of forbidden love to global headlines, Camilla's name became synonymous with scandal. But was there more to her story than the media portrayed? When Charles and Diana's marriage began to crumble in the public eye, Camilla was thrust into the spotlight, and not in a favorable way. Diana's famous interview with Martin Bashir in 1995 immortalized the line, "There were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Overnight, Camilla became a villain in the eyes of the public. The tabloids were merciless. They painted her as a homewrecker, a woman who had stolen the fairy tale princesses happily ever after. Her life became a battleground of paparazzi cameras, harsh headlines, and public disdain. For years, she was the subject of relentless attacks. But here's where Camilla's resilience shone. Instead of retreating from the public eye, she endured the criticism quietly. She maintained her composure, never retaliating against the media storm. Those close to her spoke of her warmth, wit, and loyalty, qualities that the public would only come to recognize years later. By the late 1990s, as the dust began to settle following Diana's tragic death, Charles and Camilla's relationship started to be seen in a new light. The royal family cautiously reintroduced Camilla to public life, mindful of the delicate balance required to win over the public. Their approach was gradual. Camilla was seen attending low-key events, often in the background, as she eased into her role alongside Charles. Behind the scenes, her warmth and down-to-earth personality began winning over those she met. One key turning point came in 2005, when Charles and Camilla finally tied the knot. Their wedding was not the grand spectacle one might expect for a royal union. Instead, it was a modest, private ceremony, followed by a blessing at St. George's Chapel. The subdued nature of the event reflected an understanding of public sentiment. Slowly but surely, the tide was beginning to turn. How did Camilla go from being shunned by the public to becoming a a figure of admiration. It wasn't just time, it was action. Camilla's transformation wasn't just about waiting for public opinion to soften. It was about proving her worth. Over the years, she has championed causes close to her heart, using her platform to make a tangible difference. One of her most notable passions is her advocacy for victims of domestic abuse. Camila has worked tirelessly to shine a light on this often hidden issue, meeting with survivors and raising awareness. Her dedication to the cause has earned her widespread praise, particularly from those who admire her empathy and commitment. She has also championed literacy, promoting the joy of reading and supporting initiatives to improve access to books. Her work in this area reflects her personal love of literature, a passion she shares with Charles. Through her charitable efforts, Camila has carved out a role for herself as more than just a royal consort. She has become a respected figure in her own right, someone who uses her position to uplift others. Who would have thought that the woman once vilified by the media would become a champion for the voiceless? Camilla's story is a reminder that people can change, and so can perceptions. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in 2022, Camilla officially became Queen Consort alongside Charles. For many, this moment marked the culmination of her transformation. The public, once hostile, now greeted her with warmth and respect. Camilla has embraced her new role with grace, balancing the traditional duties of the monarchy with a modern sensibility. She remains an advocate for her causes while supporting Charles in his mission to modernize the monarchy. Her style as Queen Consort reflects her personality, unpretentious and approachable. She is often seen engaging warmly with people during royal engagements, a stark contrast to the distant, formal image of royals in the past. Camilla's public image has undergone one of the most remarkable transformations in royal history. From being cast as the other woman to being celebrated as a compassionate and dedicated consort, her journey is a testament to perseverance and character. The media has also shifted its tone. While Camilla may never escape the shadow of her past entirely, she is now often portrayed in a positive light. Her humor, intelligence, and steadfast support for Charles are qualities that have endeared her to many. In the end, Camilla's story is about more than scandal or redemption. It's about the power of authenticity. Camilla's rise to Queen Consort is a story of resilience and reinvention. It reminds us that public opinion is not set in stone and that time, combined with action, can heal even the deepest wounds. Her ability to stay true to herself, despite the noise, is what ultimately won people over. As she continues her role as Queen Consort, Camilla's legacy will likely be defined not by the controversies of the past, but by the positive impact she has made. And for a woman whose life has been under a microscope, that is perhaps the ultimate victory. So, what do you think? Is Queen Camilla's transformation proof that time can heal all wounds? Or does her story show us something even deeper about resilience and character? Let us know in the comments below. Real intersections between Pope Francis and the British monarchy. The Vatican and the British monarchy have one of the most fascinating diplomatic relationships in history. Their story is marked by centuries of tension, reconciliation, and transformation. From the tumultuous English Reformation to the modern-day efforts for global unity, this connection is a testament to how even the most divided institutions can find common ground. The 16th century English Reformation was a defining moment in this relationship. King Henry VIII's dramatic split from the Catholic Church wasn't just a political move, it was a deeply personal and theological conflict. When Pope Clement VII refused to annul Henry's marriage to Catherine of Aragon, Henry's response was revolutionary. He declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England, effectively severing ties with the Vatican. This decision didn't just reshape England's religious landscape, it sent shockwaves throughout Europe, creating a rift between the English crown and the papacy that would last for centuries. Despite this fraught history, the 20th century saw a remarkable shift. Diplomatic relations between the United Kingdom and the Vatican were formally restored in 1914, laying the foundation for a new era of cooperation. Queen Elizabeth II played a pivotal role in strengthening this bond. Her first audience with Pope John XXIII in 1961 was a powerful symbol of reconciliation. Over the decades, she met with 4 different popes, each meeting underscoring a shared commitment to peace and unity. A watershed moment in this relationship came in 1982 when Pope John Paul II became the first pope to visit the United Kingdom. His meeting with Queen Elizabeth II was a historic event, signaling a new chapter in Vatican-UK relations. The visit included a powerful mass in Wembley Stadium and a speech emphasizing reconciliation and shared values. The image of the Pope and the Queen standing side by side remains an enduring symbol of unity. Under Pope Francis's leadership, this relationship has deepened further. Known for his focus on social justice and progressive vision, Francis has found common ground with the British monarchy on issues like poverty alleviation, interfaith dialogue, and climate change. His 2017 meeting with then Prince Charles, now King Charles III, highlighted their shared commitment to these causes, particularly the urgent need for environmental stewardship. The Vatican-UK relationship is a remarkable example of how two institutions with complex histories can move beyond conflict to work collaboratively for the greater good. Pope Francis and King Charles III have a unique and compelling relationship that reflects their shared commitment to addressing global challenges. Their interactions are not just diplomatic gestures, they are meaningful exchanges that showcase their aligned values and mutual respect. One of their most significant meetings took place in 2019 when Charles, then Prince of Wales, visited the Vatican. The two leaders focused on interfaith dialogue, a subject close to both their hearts. Pope Francis, known for his emphasis on building bridges between different religious communities, found a kindred spirit in Charles, who has long advocated for religious tolerance and the protection of minority faiths. Their conversation underscored the role of religion in promoting global harmony, a theme that resonates in their respective leadership styles. Climate change has been another powerful area of alignment. Ahead of the COP26 summit in Glasgow, both leaders issued passionate calls for action. Pope Francis emphasized the moral imperative to protect our common home, a message rooted in his groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si. Meanwhile, Charles, a pioneer in environmental advocacy, spoke about the need for sustainable solutions to combat the climate crisis. Although they didn't appear together, their messages complemented each other, amplifying the urgency of the issue on a global stage. Their relationship also reflects a shared redefinition of leadership. Pope Francis has broken traditional molds with his humility, accessibility, and focus on marginalized communities. Similarly, King Charles III has sought to use his platform to champion causes that often go unnoticed, from organic farming to indigenous rights. Both leaders exemplify a modern approach to leadership that prioritizes empathy, accountability, and action over ceremonial authority. This alignment extends beyond their shared concerns to their personal philosophies. Pope Francis's emphasis on humility and service mirrors Charles's belief in the importance of stewardship, whether of the environment, culture, or community. Their collaborative efforts, particularly in areas like ecological justice and interfaith dialogue, highlight the potential for religious and secular leaders to unite in pursuit of a common good. The connection between Pope Francis and King Charles III is not just a diplomatic relationship, it's a partnership rooted in shared values and a vision for a better world. Their interactions serve as a powerful example of how leaders from different spheres can come together to address humanity's greatest challenges. Religion has long been intertwined with the British monarchy, forming a cornerstone of its identity and traditions. As the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, King Charles III occupies a role of great religious significance. However, in today's increasingly secular and diverse society, the monarchy's relationship with religion is evolving. Pope Francis's progressive vision offers a fascinating lens through which to examine this transformation. King Charles III has expressed a desire to be a defender of faiths, rather than solely a defender of the Church of England. This inclusive approach reflects Britain's multicultural reality, where citizens practice a wide array of religions. Charles's acknowledgement of this diversity aligns closely with Pope Francis's interfaith initiatives. Francis has consistently called for dialogue and mutual respect among different faith communities, emphasizing that diversity should be a source of strength, not division. Queen Camila, as Queen Consort, also plays a role in this evolving religious landscape. While her personal faith remains private, her charitable work reflects values central to both the monarchy and the papacy. From supporting survivors of domestic abuse to promoting literacy and education, Camilla's initiatives align with Pope Francis's emphasis on compassion and service. Her advocacy for marginalized groups mirrors the Pope's focus on uplifting the vulnerable and addressing systemic inequalities. The broader question of religion's role in modern monarchies is particularly relevant in an era of rapid social change. Pope Francis and King Charles III represent two institutions navigating this complex terrain. Both the Vatican and the monarchy are steeped in tradition, yet they are finding ways to adapt and remain relevant. For the papacy, this has meant a focus on issues like social justice, climate change, and interfaith dialogue. For the monarchy, it has meant embracing inclusivity and reflecting the diverse identities of its citizens. Pope Francis's teachings on humility, service, and the dangers of unchecked power resonate deeply with the modern British monarchy's efforts to redefine its role. Both institutions are moving away from hierarchical authority toward models of leadership that prioritize empathy and accountability. This shared evolution highlights the enduring relevance of faith and tradition in a world that often seems to prioritize progress over heritage. The intersection of the papacy and modern monarchies offers a rich and nuanced exploration of how tradition and progress can coexist. The relationship between the Vatican and the British monarchy is more than a matter of protocol or historical curiosity. It carries profound significance for global diplomacy, moral leadership, and the ability to address pressing international challenges. Pope Francis and King Charles III, as representatives of two enduring institutions, embody a unique partnership that speaks to the evolving role of tradition in a rapidly changing world. At its core, this relationship demonstrates the power of collaboration between seemingly disparate institutions. The Vatican, a spiritual authority with a global reach, and the British monarchy, a constitutional institution rooted in national identity, bring different strengths to the table. Together, they represent a convergence of moral and cultural influence that transcends borders. This synergy is particularly important in addressing challenges that no single nation or institution can tackle alone, such as climate change, global inequality, and interfaith tensions. Climate action, for instance, is a shared passion for both leaders. Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si redefined the Church's stance on environmental stewardship, framing it as a moral imperative. Similarly, King Charles III has spent decades championing sustainable practices, from organic farming to renewable energy. When these leaders advocate for environmental responsibility, their combined influence resonates with a diverse audience, from policymakers to faith communities to grassroots activists. Their partnership amplifies the urgency of climate action, offering both moral clarity and practical guidance. Social justice is another area where their alignment has significant implications. Pope Francis's relentless advocacy for the marginalized aligns with the monarchy's charitable initiatives. Under King Charles III and Queen Camila, the monarchy has embraced causes that address systemic inequities, such as supporting at-risk youth and advancing educational opportunities. Together, these efforts underscore a shared belief in the transformative power of leadership rooted in empathy and service. Interfaith dialogue is perhaps the most symbolic aspect of their relationship. In an increasingly polarized world, their commitment to fostering understanding among diverse religious communities serves as a powerful counterpoint to division and conflict. Pope Francis's outreach to other faiths and Charles's inclusive approach to religious leadership demonstrate how institutions with deep historical ties to a single tradition can embrace pluralism. Ultimately, the relationship between Pope Francis and the British monarchy matters because it represents the potential for unity in a fractured world. Their collaboration serves as a reminder that even the oldest institutions can adapt, find common ground, and work together for the greater good, a hopeful vision for the future of global leadership. If you want to stay updated on this unfolding mystery and dive deeper into the secrets behind the Vatican and beyond, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's so much more to uncover, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay curious, and until next time. Pope Francis, at 87, has raised eyebrows across the globe with a comment that inadvertently hinted at who might succeed him as the next pope. This rare moment of candidness has ignited speculation and curiosity about the future of the Catholic Church and its leadership. Amid growing concerns about his health and potential resignation, his unintentional reveal of potential successors has set the stage for an unprecedented period in the Vatican. 3 names have emerged as key candidates: Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines, Cardinal Petro Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State, and Cardinal Peter Turkson, hailing from Ghana. These leaders, with their unique skills and perspectives, reflect the global changes within the Church and the shifting focus towards the global South. Pope Francis, a figure known for his humility and progressive stance, has openly acknowledged the idea of resignation, following the example set by his predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI, who resigned in 2013. In recent years, Francis's health has become a topic of concern. After undergoing a serious lung operation in 2021, he has faced increased scrutiny about his ability to fulfill the demands of his papacy. With the physical toll of his position growing, discussions about a successor have intensified. Pope Francis himself has even stated that he would consider stepping down if it became clear he could no longer lead effectively. This candid admission has brought his potential resignation into sharper focus. The possibility of a papal resignation is no longer a distant idea, as Francis has suggested that he might follow in Benedict's footsteps if his health or age were to impede his ability to lead. Given these circumstances, the question of who might take his place has become a matter of great interest. While no official decisions have been made, Pope Francis's slip of the tongue and the names of potential successors have become a major point of conversation within the Vatican and the broader Catholic world. The notion of a non-European pope has gained significant attention in recent years. Pope Francis himself, as the first Latin American and Jesuit pope, broke many traditions, opening the door to greater diversity and representation in the Church's leadership. His election in 2013 symbolized a shift in the global center of Catholicism, which has long been concentrated in Europe. Today, however, Catholicism is flourishing in regions like Africa, Asia, and Latin America. These regions, which represent the growing numbers of Catholics worldwide, are starting to reshape the Church's identity and influence. Given this shift, it's possible that the next pope could emerge from one of these growing regions. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, often called Asia's Pope Francis, is one such figure who embodies the global nature of the Catholic Church. Tagle, the Archbishop of Manila and former president of Caritas Internationalis, has captured the attention of many with his focus on humility, inclusivity, and social justice. His pastoral care and strong connections with the youth and marginalized communities make him a compelling candidate for the next papacy. His ability to engage with diverse communities has earned him admiration, and he is seen as someone who could bridge the gap between the global South and the Vatican. Known for his advocacy for the poor and his focus on the environment, Tagle's leadership would be in line with Francis's vision of a church that prioritizes social justice and addresses pressing global issues. Another leading contender is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the current Vatican Secretary of State. Parolin, a skilled diplomat, has built a strong reputation for his international relations expertise. His deep understanding of geopolitical issues and his role as the Vatican's chief negotiator make him a stabilizing figure, particularly as the Church navigates the complex political landscape of the 21st century. As Pope Francis's right-hand man, Parolin is already familiar with the demands of high-level leadership. His background in diplomacy could be crucial as the Church faces increasingly complex global challenges, including climate change, migration, and interfaith relations. His steady hand could provide much-needed stability in a time of uncertainty. Cardinal Peter Turkson from Ghana is also a prominent candidate. Turkson has long been known for his work on social justice and environmental stewardship. As the former head of the Vatican's dicastery for promoting integral human development, Turkson has focused on issues like global poverty, human rights, and environmental sustainability. His advocacy for the environment, particularly through the 2015 encyclical Laudato Si', aligns closely with Pope Francis's emphasis on ecological care. Turkson's rise within the Church reflects the growing importance of Africa and the global South, where Catholicism is expanding rapidly. His leadership could signal a shift toward a more proactive stance on social justice and the Church's role in addressing the challenges faced by communities in Africa and beyond. These three cardinals represent the diversity of leadership that is emerging within the Church. Each one brings a unique set of experiences, perspectives, and skills that align with the priorities Pope Francis has championed during his papacy. As the Catholic Church approaches a potential leadership transition, the conversation surrounding the next pope is not just about a single individual, but about the future direction of the entire institution. In addition to the personal qualities of potential successors, the broader context of global demographics plays a crucial role in shaping the future of the Catholic Church. The Church has undergone a significant demographic shift in recent decades, with the center of Catholicism gradually moving from Europe to the global South and East. This shift reflects the growth of Catholic populations in regions like Africa, Asia, and Latin America, where the Church's influence is expanding. As the Church adjusts to these changes, the selection of a pope who can connect with the diverse needs of its followers has become increasingly important. In Africa, the Catholic Church is experiencing a surge in membership. Countries like Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo are seeing rapid increases in Catholic populations. The Church's emphasis on social justice, community development, and addressing poverty resonates deeply with many African Catholics. This demographic growth has also led to the rise of African leaders within the Church, such as Cardinal Turkson, who are shaping the direction of the Church's engagement with issues like poverty, migration, and climate change. Asia is also seeing significant growth in Catholicism, with countries like the Philippines, India, and Vietnam experiencing an increase in the number of Catholics, particularly among younger generations. The Church's efforts to adapt to local cultures and address issues like migration and poverty have made it increasingly relevant in these regions. The rise of leaders like Cardinal Tagle is a reflection of this shift. As the Church continues to grow in these regions, the possibility of a non-European pope becomes more likely. Latin America, once the heart of Catholicism, remains a vital center of the faith. While evangelical movements have gained ground in some areas, the Catholic Church continues to wield significant influence. In countries like Brazil and Mexico, the Church remains a powerful force in shaping social and political discourse. The emphasis on social justice, human rights, and poverty alleviation, central to Pope Francis's papacy, resonates strongly with many Latin American Catholics. As the Catholic Church faces these demographic shifts, the next pope will need to navigate a complex landscape. The Church's leadership must respond to the changing needs of its global community while remaining faithful to its traditions. This balance between tradition and reform will be a defining challenge for the next papacy. One of the most significant contributions of Pope Francis has been his focus on environmental care and outreach to marginalized communities. His landmark 2015 encyclical, Laudato Si', emphasized the moral responsibility to protect the environment and address social inequality. Francis has called for urgent action on climate change, framing it as a moral issue that disproportionately affects the poor. This focus on environmental care has become a defining feature of his papacy, and many believe it will be a key priority for his successor. Similarly, Pope Francis has placed a strong emphasis on the Church's role in caring for the marginalized. His actions, from washing the feet of prisoners to advocating for refugees, have demonstrated a deep commitment to those on the fringes of society. This outreach to the poor and vulnerable has challenged the Church to live out the Gospel's call to serve the least among us. As the next pope is chosen, it is likely that these priorities will continue to shape the direction of the Church. Another pressing issue for the Church is the need to engage with younger generations. Pope Francis has recognized the importance of youth involvement in the Church, and he has made efforts to connect with young people through events like World Youth Day and social media. The Church's future depends on its ability to resonate with young people, who face unique challenges in a rapidly changing world. By empowering youth and giving them a voice in Church decision-making, the Church can ensure its continued relevance and vitality. Ultimately, the selection of the next pope will be a pivotal moment in the history of the Catholic Church. The cardinals who gather for the conclave will face the task of choosing a leader who can navigate the complexities of a rapidly changing world. As we look ahead to the future of the Catholic Church, the discussions surrounding Pope Francis's successor are bound to continue. Whether it's Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, Cardinal Petro Parolin, or Cardinal Peter Turkson, each potential leader represents a different path for the Church. One that could either continue Francis's legacy of inclusivity, social justice, and environmental care, or return to a more traditional approach.
In a shocking turn of events, the atmosphere at a prestigious royal event turned from celebratory to tense as the crowd fell into a stunned silence. Catherine, Princess of Wales, affectionately known as Kate Middleton, unexpectedly collapsed in front of a horrified Prince William. The usually poised and graceful Duchess, who has long been a symbol of strength and elegance, left onlookers frozen in disbelief. The incident unfolded rapidly, with concern etched across the faces of those in attendance as Prince William rushed to her side, reflecting the gravity of the moment.
My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, has always been a symbol of elegance, strength, and poise, embodying the ideals of the British royal family. Known for her unwavering dedication to her royal duties and her ability to balance the demands of public life with motherhood, she has garnered admiration from millions across the globe. However, in recent months, troubling reports have emerged that have left both the public and the royal family deeply concerned. It all began during a prestigious royal event, where Kate Middleton, alongside her husband, Prince William, was expected to make another public appearance as part of her tireless commitment to charity work and royal obligations. The Duchess had long been known for her impeccable composure during these events, often showing little sign of fatigue or stress despite her packed schedule. However, what was meant to be a routine engagement quickly turned into a deeply distressing situation that left those in attendance in shock. As the Duchess mingled with guests, those nearby noticed that she seemed slightly pale and was moving at a slower pace than usual. Initially, it was chalked up to the sheer exhaustion of her busy schedule, which had been particularly demanding in recent months. However, things took a dramatic turn when, without warning, Kate collapsed in front of a horrified audience. Prince William, who was standing just a few feet away, immediately rushed to her side, his face a mixture of fear and urgency. The crowd fell into a tense silence, the joyous atmosphere instantly replaced by anxiety and concern. Royal aides and security personnel acted quickly, ushering the Duchess away from the crowd and into a nearby room where medical personnel had been summoned. The event was swiftly cancelled, and the media were asked to show restraint, although whispers of the incident quickly began circulating through the corridors of Buckingham Palace and beyond. Within hours, the news had broken, and concerns for Kate Middleton's health dominated headlines across the world. The collapse sparked an immediate response from the royal family, and questions began to surface about Kate's well-being. While the palace initially downplayed the severity of the situation, stating that the Duchess had merely been feeling unwell and was advised to rest, further reports soon indicated that the issue might be far more serious than previously thought. Speculation began to grow about the nature of her health struggles, with some pointing to the immense pressure she had been under in her role as a senior royal, while others suggested that there might be an underlying medical condition contributing to her collapse. In the days following the event, sources close to the royal family confirmed that Kate had undergone a series of medical tests to determine the cause of her sudden collapse. The results, while not immediately disclosed to the public, reportedly raised alarms within the royal household. It was later revealed that doctors had discovered a troubling issue, one that had been hidden from public view for some time. Kate Middleton had been quietly battling a serious health condition, and there were growing concerns that it might be cancer. The news sent shockwaves through both the British public and the wider world, as the idea that someone as beloved and high-profile as the Duchess could be facing such a daunting challenge seemed almost unthinkable. For years, Kate had maintained a healthy and active lifestyle, often seen jogging, playing tennis, and staying involved in numerous charitable causes related to physical and mental health. The revelation that she might be suffering from a potentially life-threatening illness left many in disbelief. While the royal family has traditionally been private about health matters, the severity of the situation forced them to address the growing speculation. In a carefully worded statement, the palace confirmed that Kate had indeed undergone further medical evaluations, and while they did not confirm a specific diagnosis, they acknowledged that she was facing a significant health issue. The statement reassured the public that Kate was receiving the best possible care and that her doctors were closely monitoring her condition. The lack of details in the palace's statement only fueled further speculation. Media outlets around the world began reporting that Kate Middleton might be suffering from a form of cancer, although no specific type had been confirmed. Some reports suggested that she had been diagnosed with an early stage of the disease and that her prognosis was good, while others speculated that her condition might be more advanced than initially thought. The truth, however, remained closely guarded by the royal family, leaving the public to grapple with the uncertainty of the situation. As Kate Middleton continued her recovery, the public's admiration for her only grew. She had faced one of the most difficult challenges of her life with grace and courage, and her resilience had touched the hearts of many. While the future remained uncertain, one thing was clear: Kate Middleton was a fighter, and she would continue to face whatever challenges came her way with the same strength and determination that had made her such a beloved figure in the first place. Throughout her ordeal, Kate had remained focused on her family, particularly her 3 young children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. As a mother, her greatest concern had always been for their well-being, and she had worked tirelessly to ensure that they remained happy and secure, despite the challenges she was facing. Prince William had also played a pivotal role in supporting both Kate and their children, ensuring that their family life remained as normal as possible during this difficult time. In a poignant moment that tugs at the heartstrings, Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, shared a deeply emotional embrace with a young girl in a touching act of compassion. This story, both heartwarming and heart-wrenching, unfolds as we explore the powerful reason behind this heartfelt gesture, a reason that is bound to move you to tears. Join us as we delve into this extraordinary act of kindness and the profound impact it had on both the young girl and those who witnessed it. This is a story of empathy, connection, and the remarkable ways in which simple gestures can leave an enduring legacy.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous.
Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, is renowned not only for her role within the British royal family, but also for her profound ability to connect with the public. Over the years, she has established herself as a figure of warmth, empathy, and genuine engagement, embodying qualities that endear her to people across the United Kingdom and around the world. Her interactions with individuals, her dedication to charitable causes, and the reciprocal affection she receives from the public reflect the depth of her character and the positive impact she has made. From the outset of her public life, Kate Middleton has been recognized for her exceptional ability to interact with people on a personal level. Her approachability and warmth have become defining features of her public persona. In a surprising moment that has reignited discussions about the inner workings of the British royal family, Princess Kate recently made headlines when she appeared to refuse to curtsy to Queen Camilla during a high-profile public event. The incident, caught on camera, has led to widespread speculation about possible tensions between the two royal figures. As protocol usually requires the Princess of Wales to show deference to the Queen Consort with a curtsy, Kate's decision to bypass this traditional gesture has been viewed by some as a pointed act of defiance, possibly reflecting underlying discord within the royal household. This moment, though brief, has added a new layer to the ongoing narrative surrounding the dynamics and relationships among the senior members of the monarchy.
News now from overseas concerning the royal family. Burglars broke into the grounds of Britain's Royal Windsor Castle last month.
From Adelaide Cottage, which is the primary residence for the Princess of Wales, along with their 3 young children.
What's really behind the royal family's carefully crafted image? For decades, one of the most trusted individuals in Princess Diana's life has stayed silent about the secrets she knew, until now. Diana's nanny has finally broken her silence, offering a rare glimpse into the hidden struggles of the Princess of Wales. her marriage, and the true nature of her relationship with her sons. Prepare for an eye-opening revelation. Diana's nanny was more than just a caretaker. She was a witness to the most intimate and personal moments of the princess's life. She observed Diana's struggles with immense pressure, both from her royal duties and her troubled marriage with Prince Charles. As a close confidant, the nanny was privy to the emotional turmoil Diana faced daily. This insight, hidden for decades, provides an authentic portrayal of the human side of Princess Diana, far from the public's idealized image. The nanny recalls how Diana, despite being adored worldwide, was often alone and vulnerable. Diana's role as a mother was her greatest priority, but her relationship with Charles was disintegrating before her eyes. While the public was captivated by the fairy tale marriage, behind the scenes, Diana's emotional state was deteriorating. The nanny, who was often the one to comfort the princess, witnessed Diana's deep sense of betrayal and loneliness. These emotions would become the foundation of her complex relationship with her children, especially as she strived to protect them from the chaos of her personal life. Despite her marital struggles, Diana remained fiercely dedicated to her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. The nanny shares how Diana broke royal protocol to ensure her children had as normal a life as possible, even though the pressures of their royal status were always looming. Diana's love and devotion to her sons were undeniable, and her nanny often observed how their bond remained strong, even in the face of public scrutiny and personal challenges. As Diana's confidant, the nanny also observed the complex dynamics within the royal family. Diana's relationships with her in-laws, particularly the Queen and Prince Charles, were far from ideal. The nanny's perspective sheds light on the pressures Diana faced as she navigated her royal life. From the emotional strain of her marriage to the weight of public expectations, the nanny's untold truths about Diana's motherhood. While Princess Diana's life was often scrutinized by the media, one aspect that was less discussed was her role as a mother. The nanny, who was by Diana's side throughout much of her parenting journey, shares a unique perspective on how Diana's personal struggles shaped her approach to motherhood. Unlike many royal mothers before her, Diana was determined to provide her children with as normal a life as possible, despite their royal status. She often bucked royal tradition in favor of showing affection, tenderness, and love toward her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. The nanny recalls how Diana made an active effort to shield her children from the pressures of being in the public eye, even taking them on private trips to places like theme parks and museums. Diana was especially protective of their innocence, striving to give them experiences outside the palace that allowed them to be just regular boys. The nanny mentions how Diana would often play with them, engaging in fun and playful activities that were far removed from the royal duties expected of them. It was in these moments that Diana truly shone as a mother, loving, playful, and completely invested in their happiness. However, the nanny also reveals the challenges Diana faced in balancing her public image with her role as a mother. The pressures of maintaining her princess persona were intense, and Diana often struggled to reconcile the expectations placed on her with her desire to be a hands-on, loving mother. The nanny recalls how Diana's genuine worry about her children's emotional well-being was always at the forefront of her mind, even when the media attention grew overwhelming. She was determined that her sons would never feel neglected or overshadowed by the royal machinery. This chapter further highlights the contrast between the public's view of Diana as a glamorous figure and the private struggles she faced behind closed doors. The nanny's account of Diana's mothering style offers an authentic portrayal of a woman who, despite her personal turmoil, placed her children at the center of her world. Diana's legacy as a mother remains just as powerful as her impact as a humanitarian, and her sons continue to carry her teachings with them as they navigate their own family lives today. The emotional battles. While Diana was the picture of grace on the outside, the nanny reveals a different side of the princess, one that struggled deeply with loneliness, mental health issues, and feelings of abandonment. Diana's battle with bulimia and depression was something she kept hidden from the public eye, but the nanny witnessed it firsthand. As a mother, Diana was determined to shield her children from her personal struggles, but the emotional toll was evident to those who knew her best. The nanny recalls how Diana's mental health struggles were exacerbated by the media frenzy surrounding her marriage. The constant invasion of her privacy took a significant toll, but it was the breakdown of her relationship with Prince Charles that left the deepest scars. Diana felt abandoned and isolated in her marriage, and the nanny believes that these feelings of emotional neglect led to Diana's internal battles. Despite all of this, her love for William and Harry remained unwavering. In a private moment shared with the nanny, Diana admitted how difficult it was to reconcile her public persona with her private pain. She had become a global icon, admired for her charity work and empathy, but behind closed doors, she often felt invisible and alone. These emotional struggles deeply affected her relationship with her children, though she did everything in her power to protect them from the fallout. The nanny, a silent observer of Diana's life, offers an honest and raw depiction of what Diana went through. Her insight into the emotional and psychological toll that public life took on the princess helps us understand the deep human vulnerabilities that made Diana so relatable, even to those who had never met her. Diana's struggles with the royal family. From the very beginning of her marriage to Prince Charles, Princess Diana was thrust into the rigid and unyielding structure of the royal family. The nanny recalls how Diana, though a strong-willed woman, often felt stifled by the royal institution. Her marriage to Charles in particular was strained from the outset, with differences in their personalities and interests creating a chasm between them. Diana's relationship with the Queen and the rest of the royal family was often fraught with tension. While Diana sought affection and emotional intimacy, Charles remained emotionally distant, caught up in his royal duties, and, as it would later be revealed, his affair with Camilla Parker Bowles. The nanny recounts how Diana was often left to fend for herself, trying to balance her royal duties with her emotional well-being. The sense of isolation she experienced within the royal family was one of the hardest challenges she faced. Despite these difficulties, Diana's love for her children remained constant. The nanny remembers how, even during the most trying times, Diana focused on ensuring that William and Harry felt loved and valued. She defied royal norms to give them experiences that were as normal as possible, even if it meant breaking royal protocol. Diana's ability to provide a safe space for her children in the midst of a turbulent royal life was one of the most significant aspects of her role as a mother. The nanny's perspective on Diana's struggles within the royal family provides a much-needed look into the tensions that existed behind the closed doors of Buckingham Palace. Diana was not just a figurehead, she was a woman navigating personal and public battles, trying to make the best decisions for her family in the midst of immense pressure. Prince Harry. Speaking out. In recent years, Prince Harry has broken his silence about the impact of his mother's legacy on his own life. In his memoir Spare, Harry shares his personal struggles with grief, loss, and the lasting trauma of Diana's untimely death. Harry has often spoken about how he feels his mother's presence in his life, even decades after her passing. His journey of self-reflection and therapy is deeply rooted in the love and compassion Diana instilled in him and his brother, William. Harry's emotional openness has been a central theme in his public appearances, particularly as he navigates his own mental health challenges. The death of Diana left a profound hole in his life, and his ongoing struggles with grief have shaped much of his adult life. Harry often speaks of the comfort he finds in the charitable work he does in honor of his mother, particularly in the areas of mental health and veterans affairs. In his reflections, Harry also acknowledges how Diana's death affected his relationship with his brother, Prince William. The intense public pressure on their family, particularly after Diana's passing, created a rift between the two brothers, and Harry has openly expressed his frustration with how their differing approaches to royal life have caused tension. Yet, despite their differences, Harry continues to honor his mother's legacy through his advocacy, and by ensuring that her humanitarian work lives on. Harry's candidness about his grief and the lasting impact of his mother's death provides valuable insight into the emotional toll the loss took on him and how it continues to shape his personal and public life. His journey of healing and self-discovery is a testament to the enduring influence of Princess Diana, even decades after her passing. Prince William's quiet strength in Diana's legacy. Prince William, as the eldest son of Princess Diana, has often been more reserved about his emotions and his mother's legacy. However, his actions speak volumes about the profound influence Diana had on him. William's approach to fatherhood, his charitable work, and his role as a future monarch have all been shaped by the values Diana instilled in him. His commitment to mental health initiatives and environmental causes is a direct reflection of Diana's own philanthropic spirit. Despite the public's adoration for Diana, William had to navigate the complexities of his relationship with his mother, especially after her divorce from Prince Charles. William was old enough to witness the breakdown of his parents' marriage and felt the emotional strain of his mother's struggles. In the years following Diana's death, William has had to process his grief while stepping into a larger role within the royal family. In private, William has been deeply affected by the loss of his mother, but he often chooses to express his emotions through action rather than words. As a father, he is committed to raising his children in a way that honors Diana's legacy of compassion and love. His commitment to his children and his efforts to shield them from the media spotlight reflect the lessons he learned from his mother. William's role in continuing Diana's humanitarian efforts, especially through his work with mental health organizations, highlights the impact of her legacy on his life. Benny Hinn is a name that has stirred both admiration and controversy in equal measure. Over the course of several decades, he became one of the most recognized televangelists in the world, captivating millions with his promises of divine healing, financial prosperity, and an intimate connection with God. But beneath the glittering surface of his international ministry, a dark undercurrent of scandals, accusations, and personal turmoil has steadily eroded his influence and credibility. As the final chapter of his ministry is written, the once infallible figure finds himself facing a harsh reality, one that has caused many of his followers to part ways for good. From the beginning, Benny Hinn's ministry was built on a message that promised prosperity for those who sowed seeds into his ministry. It was a message that appealed to the deepest desires of his followers, the hope that financial blessings could be unlocked by giving generously to the church. Hinn's teachings often revolved around the idea that faith was directly tied to financial gain, and the more one gave, the more God would reward them. It was a pitch that caught fire with millions of people looking for hope in a world that often seemed to offer little. "Give sacrificially," Benny would say, "and God will bless you abundantly." He claimed that giving large amounts of money would release faith, and in turn, God would release the harvest. This message was not just about money. It was about the idea that by sowing into Hinn's ministry, followers could unlock a divine supply chain that promised blessings beyond measure. But as his ministry grew, so too did the criticisms. Detractors quickly labeled Hinn's message as a spiritual Ponzi scheme, a system that seemingly benefited only the man at the top, while the faithful were left empty-handed. The criticism was loud and unrelenting, with many pointing to the wealth that seemed to flow directly to Hinn, while many of his followers were left with empty pockets, having given away their hard-earned money in hopes of receiving blessings that never materialized. The Bible itself, many argued, did not support such teachings. It promoted giving freely and without compulsion, with no promise of financial return. Yet Benny Hinn persisted in his message, and despite the growing backlash, he continued to promote the prosperity gospel. But in 2019, Benny Hinn seemed to have a moment of reckoning. In an appearance on the 700 Club, he appeared to repent for some of his teachings. "I think it's an offense to the Lord," he said, "to say give $1,000. I think it's an offense to the Holy Spirit to place a price on the gospel." His words sparked hope among critics, who believed he had finally seen the error of his ways. For a brief moment, it seemed that Hinn had turned a corner, denouncing the very practices that had made him rich and famous. But his actions told a different story. Instead of abandoning his teachings, Hinn subtly modified his message. No longer would he ask for specific dollar amounts, but he continued to stress that the more one gave, the greater the faith released. His new message was less specific, but the underlying premise remained unchanged. Give sacrificially, and God would reward you abundantly. It was this persistence in his prosperity gospel teachings that ultimately led to the erosion of his credibility and influence. For many former followers, this shift was the final straw. They saw Hinn's teachings as manipulative and exploitative, and began to turn away in large numbers. They stopped attending his events, stopped watching his television programs, and ceased donating to his ministry. Hinn's message no longer resonated with them, and his influence began to wane. His promises of financial blessings rang hollow as the criticism grew louder, and his ministry faced a steep decline in membership, donations, and global reach. As Benny Hinn's ministry crumbled, so too did his personal life. The pressure of maintaining his image as a devoted family man had always been a part of his public persona. Benny and his wife Suzanne were seen by many as the perfect Christian couple, deeply committed to each other and their faith. But the reality of their marriage was far more complicated. The pressures of building an international ministry took a heavy toll on their relationship. Benny's relentless ambition, his focus on expanding his ministry, and the demands of his high-profile career left Suzanne feeling increasingly isolated. Despite their public image, their marriage had become strained. In 2010, after over 3 decades of marriage, Suzanne filed for divorce. The announcement shocked the world, as it seemed unthinkable that a couple so closely tied to the image of faith and divine success could fall apart. For Benny, the divorce was a devastating blow to his reputation. How could he, a man who preached about God's power to heal and restore, not be able to heal his own marriage? His personal turmoil only added to the growing number of controversies surrounding his ministry. Yet, in 2013, just 3 years after their divorce, Benny and Suzanne surprised the world by reconciling. Their remarriage was celebrated as a miraculous example of faith and forgiveness, but for many, skepticism lingered. Some believed that their reconciliation was driven by a desire to restore Benny's tarnished reputation, rather than a genuine commitment to their marriage. Despite the public declarations of a fresh start, their relationship continued to face challenges. The demands of Benny's ministry never ceased, and Suzanne found herself once again feeling emotionally and spiritually neglected.